danger there is that we think of him teaching a kind of set syllabus and maybe adding a few of his own bells and whistles to it. But the primary thing that Jesus did was to announce that something was happening. According to Mark's gospel, Jesus, after his own baptism by his cousin John, Jesus comes into Galilee saying, "This is the time, God's kingdom is happening now." And that means it's time for God himself to become king. There were many revolutionary movements at the time that were saying, we don't want Herod, we don't want Caesar, we don't want these petty princes, we certainly don't want that corrupt priesthood in Jerusalem. We want God alone to be king. And Jesus comes and says, your wish is granted, but not in the way that perhaps you wanted, because Jesus is continually doing and saying things which are redefining what it would look like for God to become king. Many people thought that would mean a great revolution, a great military movement in which the Romans would be driven out and the whole Jewish people around Judea and Jerusalem and Galilee would be somehow purified, and the temple might be rebuilt properly at last, and there would be a sense of God coming back and ruling his people. It didn't work out like that, because Jesus was telling these stories about farmers sowing seed and some of the seed going to waste and other seed having a great crop, or about a father whose son goes off and disgraces the family name. And then when he comes back, the father gives him a great welcome, because the Jewish people were often thinking about their own long-term exile. They're being crushed under the pagan boot, and they wanted a return from exile. And Jesus was telling them stories about return, about new beginnings, about new life, in order to say, this is what it looks like when God becomes king. And he was healing people of all sorts of diseases. He was having parties with all the wrong sort of people in order to say, the kingdom of God is happening, but it doesn't look like you thought it would. Now, sign on, follow me, and you'll see what it actually is going to mean. And that, of course, led straight to his death, as he seems to have known that it was bound to do.